I'm Sam Martin, and today I will be teaching you about knife skills and knife safety, along with two types of knife that are important to any chef's kitchen. To the average Joe, a knife is something to slice bread or vegetables or fruit with. In the wrong hands, a knife can be a dangerous weapon. To a chef, this is their multi-tool, their sword of culinary arts and excellence. Each stroke paints a picture of bursting flavors and textures to shock the senses. Most of us have seen or at least recognize the cutthroat chefs of Food Network like Gordon Ramsay, Rachel Ray, Bobby Flay, etc. Today I will illuminate how all of these chefs and many more had to not only master their knife skills but use the most important gadgets in any chef's kitchen. First, I will briefly describe knife safety and proper care. Then I will uncover the importance of a paring knife. And then last but not least, my personal favorite and go-to, chef's knife. It's a very versatile knife used for many things. Before we jump into using knives, the fun stuff, we have to go over some basic knife safety. Although knife safety seems pretty straightforward, there are some important things every chef at every level needs to know about a knife so they can not only be safe but use the knife in the intended and proper fashion to preserve the life of your knife. To demonstrate how to hold a knife, I'm going to use my chef's knife. In the 2011 article, Eat Like a Man, Kelsey Nixon, host of her own show on the cooking channel, describes the proper way to hold a knife as such. You're going to pinch the dull side of the blade with your pointer and thumb where the blade meets the handle, and then you're going to wrap your 3 fingers around the handle, leaving your thumb and pointer finger gripping the end of the blade. This grip will prevent slipping side to side or also prevent someone from being able to take your knife from you, which is not common, but something that is worth being prepared for. With your other hand, you should curl your fingertips underneath and put them up against the blade, not underneath the blade, so that you don't accidentally cut off a fingertip, which would be bad. The next thing any chef should know is how to get or keep your knife sharpened. Making sure your knives are sharp is just important for knife care as it is for knife safety. A dull knife is just as dangerous, if not more, than a sharp knife, and dull knives are prone to slip and possibly cut you. The sharper the knife, the less hard you have to work. Knives are a tool, let them do the work for you. And it will help you so you don't get worn out and you can be more efficient. A blog by an anonymous chef that I generally like to keep up to date on, in a post written in 2018, points out, while sharp knives make cutting safer, they are by no means safe objects. Sharp knives are in fact deadly objects. How might you sharpen a dull knife, you may ask? Well, first it depends if you have a Japanese blade or a German blade. This blade is a German blade, which is thicker, which means it's less easily damaged, so you can sharpen it by honing or with a whetstone. Japanese knives are generally a thinner blade, so you have to be more careful sharpening them. That's why it's recommended that you generally have them sharpened by a professional, somebody who knows how to use a whetstone, because whetstone takes a lot of skill and patience to use. The same blog says you should sharpen your knives because it's not expensive, but even if it were, it's a small price to pay to keep your knives up to par. Replacing any knife is expensive. Use a non-slip cutting board or take precautions to make sure the cutting board is steady. When using a knife, you should always use a cutting board, no exceptions, but you must safely use a cutting board for it to work. Some cutting boards have a rubber or silicone border to help them prevent slipping and keep them steady. Cutting boards without this need a damp rag underneath them. If you just get a rag a little bit wet and wring it out and put it underneath, it will help steady the board against whatever surface you're cutting on. Now that we have some basic knife safety skills, let's talk about different types of knives any chef should have in their collection. Although small, this paring knife is important in the culinary world and can do a lot of things a larger knife is not equipped to do. You would generally use this knife for smaller things. The blade is between 3 to 5 inches long. This one particularly is 3.5. Most chefs would use a paring knife to peel fruit or vegetables, devein prawns, and cut smaller things like herbs or garlic. Chef Francine Marcan, author of the 2011 article How to Eat Like a Man, says, despite what most cookbooks and the internet suggest, you really only need 3 knives. I suggest an 8-inch chef knife, 4-inch paring knife, and a serrated bread or utility knife, which I will not be covering today. This next knife I would like to talk about is called the chef's knife. This daunting knife is arguably the most used and important knife in any chef's collection. You would use this knife for bigger jobs like cutting meats, dicing vegetables, disjointing some cuts of meat, slicing herbs in larger quantities, etc. It can be used to slice, dice, chop, julienne, chiffonade, and much more. I've seen chefs open cans and packages with their knives, which is generally not recommended because it's very bad for the blades of your knives, but can be done, making this knife super versatile because the blade is so beefy. Today, I've informed you of basic knife safety and 2 important knives to any chef's kitchen, ranging from beginner to professional. Knife safety has given you the basic knowledge you need to successfully and safely use a knife. The paring knife is better for smaller jobs like small herbs, garlic, etc. And my personal favorite and most versatile knife, the chef's knife, has many uses, but mostly is a staple and a backbone to any recipe, let alone the kitchen. I hope the information presented today helps everyone with future culinary endeavors and also helps everyone feel more comfortable using any knife and being able to distinguish which knife is appropriate for which task. Thank you so much.